was me. I don't think it was, but
Right.
there we go.
Yep. I'm giving my own fancy new cans a spin. Headset, that is. Alright.
Yeah, no earbuds for once.
No, I was seeing how much they heat up my head. Brand new sign houses, they're really nice. Alright, that's done. Show notes, show notes, show notes. Alright, Red, you are recording too?
Yes, sir.
Then let's do it.
Okay, going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that is fluent in over 6 million forms of communication. This is episode 118, being recorded on Wednesday, January 29th, 2014. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey guys.
And our guests today are Jacob and Red. So, Jacob, has you been doing much PvP lately?
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, a little bit. I had a couple problems. My PC just kept crashing and wouldn't update Windows, so I had to do a full Windows 7 reinstall, which was, fun. But
Ouch.
it actually improved my performance drastically and kind of cleaned out a bunch of crap, so that was good. Then I've been busy launching my blog, which we'll get to later. I started checking out Battlefield 4 a little bit, which is pretty fun. Just needed something different, though. Dying in 2 seconds when I spawn is, not very fun. The time to kill is just I'm not good at all. So that's a little frustrating. But yeah, I've been playing some PvP. A couple unfortunate things happen in ranked solo queues. I'm not going to say people's names, but there is an individual throwing matches for my guild and myself. So every match that he saw us in, he had 2 characters on both sides and would keep losing on purpose. And so at that point, I made a couple tickets to BioWare, did some videos. They didn't do anything, and so I took a break for basically about 4 or 5 days. Like, well, if I can't do what I want to do and BioWare's not going to do anything about it, I'm just going to step away for a little bit. But
Right.
yeah, last few days I got back in and it's going great. Yeah, I've just been making some videos and getting pumped up, and the break was good though. I'm really excited to keep back playing the game, and PvP is just, oh man, I miss my Juggernaut. It's not the overpowered class, but it's just fun, So that's what I've been doing.
Very nice. All right. Red, how about your week?
I enjoyed the Raccool event, but it did not capture me like the original one, where every day I wanted to go in, especially since there wasn't really anything new to worry about. So instead, I played a lot of Galactic Starfighter. I got really excited on the GTN. I was able to pick up some of the cartel market ships for Galactic Starfighter for 100,000 K.
Oh, that is low.
Yeah, which was pretty nifty. I actually liked the gunship.
I'm sure somewhere Bill is smiling.
I like the look of the gunship. It's like the same as the Quarrel, but the only thing I actually did notice about that was that the gunship is not actually identical to the Quarrel. I didn't look point by point, but it looks like it's pretty much the same in every way, except that it does not have distortion available.
Okay.
It only has, what is it, the shield that zaps you back, or the fortress, but it does not have distortion. So, which
Do you
is
think
a
that's
little
a bug,
strange.
Red?
I'm curious.
Should be a mirror if it is meant to be a reskin.
Right, because as it stands, I mean, if you don't like distortion, then that's fine. But it is kind of it's a gimped version of the Quarrel.
Right.
And I do like the look of it, actually. I like the gunships are a little uninspiring, especially on the Republic side. So I did also want to mention out there, anybody that's a free-to-play or preferred player, if you have money in the mail, in particular from having sold something on the GTN, as long as you don't loot that money, you can actually be at your cap and you're not going to lose it. In effect, you could use your mailbox as a bank for extra credits.
Ah.
Which is pretty neat.
Makes sense. Nice trick.
Until
nice
the
little
mail expires.
Right.
tip.
Which
Right.
I've got mail in there that's 60 days old. If you're taking that long to loot your money, then you probably don't need it anyway. um, So, and having continued to implement some of the stuff that Bill's been teaching us, I'm now pulling in over 100,000 a day with my Lobby character, who is
Nice.
just now hitting 400 on her crew skills. I did want to get Bill back though, because I'm looking forward to the next time we talk to him, so that he can explain. I'm curious what the discussions are on the forums, or if people are completely neglecting to think about the fact that since there is a free-to-play and a preferred player credit cap,
Mm-hmm.
putting things above those numbers is pointless for them.
It's pretty hard, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, and so if they want their maximum returns, they want to sell now and they want to stay under their cap. So that could have a negative impact, and I'm not sure how the subscribers would deal with that. He's one of the economy guys, so I'm just looking forward to seeing him back up to talk about
They
that.
can purchase those items from the cartel market to overcome that temporarily.
Yeah, the what's
Right.
that called? Escrow bank or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So as I've been talking about the past few weeks, I've been trying to get 3 mastered ships,
Mm-hmm.
and I am about 10k away for my gunship, and I'm ready on my Starguard. Come the day of launch, I have now 31 daily tokens in my cargo hold and 6 weeklies.
Nice.
Which is, yeah, I did the math. I think I'm going to end up having 47,750 or something like that.
Wow. If you just stay the course, huh?
Yeah.
Nice.
So guaranteed 3 will be at least mastered at launch. If I play really heavy, I might even be able to get them mastered beforehand. And I also have 15,000 fleet wreck plus another 1,250, and that's because just in case they still do throw 3 new ships at us, I can unlock those instantly. And the
Okay.
1,250 is because currently there's no way to unlock Lord Scourge as a crew member unless you have unlocked him in your storyline as a Jedi Knight. And that's supposed to be fixed with this incoming patch, so I need to buy him right away too.
Yep.
And otherwise, for my prestige side of stuff, I've been really happy. I've been getting a lot of 10 to 50 valued prestige achievements. They've been the GSF. A lot of those much larger number ones are starting to roll in now, so that's been pretty satisfying. I finally broke 250 victories,
Ooh.
so that was a big 50 that
Yeah.
popped up. And I did hit level 43 on my fighter pilot. 41 being the benchmark. I was really happy. I do now have my 4th companion for making money and my crafting missions and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and I did run into, so I realized I wanted to unlock, because you can get the achievement for unlocking all of the crew for a certain class.
Mm-hmm.
There's the achievement in the hangar, or for Galactic Starfighter. You don't actually have to have a character do the class unlocks. As long as you unlock it all 5 of them in the hangar, then you get that achievement.
Right.
So I hopped onto the imp side, and every single one of my imps that was over level 10, I went and did that intro quest, which gives you 1,000 fleet wreck.
I see. So you need to actually jump on and do a little bit of Starfighter on each character.
Right. I hopped around a few, because since I had moved my Marauder over to the Harbinger, I didn't have my Knight when these achievements got added in. Or my Warrior, sorry, my Warrior. So
Right. Okay.
I need to get those unlocked through flying. And yeah, in the process of doing that, I was able to get my fleet wreck and unlock one on my Sork, but I've run into a strange bug where I am accruing 0 shipwreck, no matter what ship I fly. I come out, and I've gotten the fleet wreck, but I'm just sitting at 0 balance on all my ships.
That's
So
weird.
put in a bug, and that's really a little disappointing, but that's alright. She doesn't need to be my fighter pilot on the imp side. And Yeah, I guess the only other thing was with the Rat Ghoul event and the fact that I was a little bit uninspired. The one thing that would be really cool, and I was trying to figure out how they would do it because right, they didn't want to duplicate the Rat Ghoul event the way that it was. They didn't like the pacing of it or whatever. They didn't like some of the features in its presentation. But instead, what we've gotten is another recurring set of weeklies.
Right.
What I like though is that we did have the original Rat Ghoul event, and then they've revamped it to have the recurring weeklies. It would be cool if maybe with future expansions or something like that, we could have a one-off, genuine type event, but then they could revisit it and have the recurring weeklies, as a recurring event in the future.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, and Gaddock Teague on the Unnamed SWTOR podcast had a lot to say about this on his episode, and it made a lot of sense. So,
otherwise, snow. Got several inches. It's been great. I haven't seen snow for years, so I went and made some snowballs and threw them at people.
All right. Tio, how about your week?
Let's start with raiding. We had pretty much our regular raid group together. We did the weekly in hard mode Terror from Beyond, so that meant taking down the Tron boss again. Hadn't been there for a while, so took a little bit to just get back into the rhythm of it, but we did that easily enough. We then went into hard mode Dread Fortress, took down the first boss. We have him on farm, pretty much, and had our first go at the Gate Master, the second boss in hard mode Dread Fortress. That's a fun fight. You have the 9 waves of ads, etc. We were getting the hang of it. We didn't really have that much time to play with it, though one thing that kind of held us up was the puzzle boss, the puzzle leading up to the actual boss. Wasn't quite as easy as it is in story mode, so yeah,
it was figure it out.
Yeah, we really should have researched that. So thanks to Rob, who actually did check off his guide and told us what to do right there at the end. Yeah, we were trying to figure it out on the fly, and it didn't work too well. We also did the Eyeless, the boss in the event, on hard mode. In fact, I don't think we actually did it on story mode. I didn't anyway. Anyway, we went in there, we one-shot it. I think there was only one casualty at the end. It's a fun fight. A whole lot happening. You have to.
Yeah, it's one of the. I always like the bosses where they leave stuff on the floor and it just stays for the whole fight, and you can end up with like the whole floor being completely covered. I always think that's a fun mechanic.
It was a mess in there, that's for sure. But yeah, it was good to take that on the first attempt. Otherwise, I've been kind of casual about doing the daily. I've done it every day but one on my main, on my Sentinel, so that was easy enough. And with the rep tokens I got, I only managed to get up to friend just by using them all up once the second week came round and I could spend the leftover ones. So I'm still not sure what I actually want out of it.
Right.
Yeah, but anyway. I have no real opinion about the event. I kind of like the tunnels and the whole setup of it. The dailies are quick and easy. It'll be interesting to see what happens, how they actually deploy it on other planets when it comes back on Tatooine and or Corellia, however they do it. And I guess I should mention I've also been banking based on, I think it was Red's actual suggestion, I've been banking those daily and weekly Galactic Starfighter rewards as well, and I've actually got 47 of the blues and 7 of the purples, and assuming that I do the last 6 days, yeah, I'll end up with nearly 60,000 shipwreck on every ship once I spend them all. So yeah, it'll be a nice initial boost, especially if I use some cartel coins to shift them around and beef up my bomber. So we'll see how that goes.
So you're definitely giving the bomber a try, huh?
I'm definitely going to give the bomber a try. I'm kind of intrigued by the concept of the hyperspace beacon that will let people hyperspace in right into...
Yeah, that is cool.
I'm also really looking forward to that magazine reload.
Since you'll also have really kitted out other ships, are you going to give them a whirl as well? As opposed to sticking to the Strike Fighter?
I really should. Because I've been saving all these tokens, and my other ships are more or less have nothing on them. I have been kind of ignoring them so far. So yeah, I should try the gunship, given what I've seen the other guys do, and the scout. I should mention there is an individual inside who I won't name, who has found some trick where he can effectively one-shot my strike fighter. No one else has done this. It's at close range. He can do it in about a second or two, and I don't know. It's not just rocket pods. It's some combination of something, and either he's cheating, or more likely he has just found some combination of everything that
Hacks.
is really nasty. Maybe.
Maybe activated abilities plus just the right weapon combos, something like that.
And fully spec'd out
activate
to
and
do
companion activate and
some sort of barrage and just blow him away, blow me away as it is.
I've been trying that on my scout. I've been pretty good about remembering the defensive ones, but I also have an offensive one for the lasers. And this last week I've been focusing on making sure to hit that one whenever it's up, and it really does make it easier to take someone down.
Okay.
And that's on my half leveled up ship.
yeah, activates have actually pretty profound impact.
Alright, the only other thing I should mention Galactic Starfighter Utini fleet has been flying well once more. I haven't been in a match that we've lost again, so it's been like 2 weeks since we've lost a match.
Oh my gosh.
So that's good. I'll probably lose all my games for the next week after saying that. But yeah, last thing I mentioned, I have been I have been incorrectly pronouncing Mesa. I've been saying Misa. It's some sort of Jar Jar Binks channeling. Really unfortunate. So yes,
Okay.
Mesa from now on. That's it for my week.
All right. Yeah. Well, I just figured that Australians or British maybe pronounced it that way for some reason.
Sadly not.
Okay.
yeah, you get away with a lot because of that accent. We just assume that's how you say it.
All good. All right. First, a shout out to the chat room. We've got RPJ here, or actually RPG is how they pronounce it. Ben_B55, Dunadai, Ferris Terran, Goosely on Smib, something. It actually cuts off there. The Pumler, Casmus, Big Dan, Delcha, and Grimrock are all here. So hi everyone. And let's see, lots of Galactic Starfighter, of course, this week. And I also worked pretty hard on getting my stabby scoundrel up, Chillclaw, up to the Rat-Ghoul event level. And I actually did so at level 21. I did accept the missions and headed over to Alderaan. And it wasn't too hard. I mean, actually, I was close to 22, so I dinged almost right away. And it wasn't really that hard. I did all the dailies, except for the Heroic 4. I didn't want to make a group or whatever. At the lobby level, it's kind of tricky. And it was fun, but the leveling wasn't really any better than normal leveling, so I just did it the one time. However, I did kind of rediscover the solo space missions, good old-fashioned type, non-PvP, on rails, all that good stuff, and reacquainted myself with just how good they are for leveling, because you get those missions, especially the first day that you can get a new one. You can do them all twice. There's lots of 8,000 and 10,000, experience ones for doing a 5-minute mission, and it's really good for leveling. So I'm gonna keep doing that, and got Chillclop to I think 25, 26, something like that anyway, and lots of fun, and I'm looking forward to some of the changes in the next patch to see whether I can notice a difference even at the low levels as far as damage goes. I say stabby because I'm thinking of the Empire side, but of course on the Scoundrel side you're actually using a shotgun. So, and I think I would rather be stabbed in the back than shotgunned in the back. But
Blasty. Yes.
All right, so tip of the week. We did have a tip of the week. It's from Lethal X Bacon from the Bastion. However, it's really just kind of going over something we went over last week. So not really any new information there, but we do appreciate the effort. So nothing really to declare a winner, but for his efforts, we will send him a Tonfon code. If you have a tip of the week, please send it to OotiniCast@gmail.com, and the random winner will receive a Tonfon code courtesy of BioWare and one of the latest cartel packs courtesy of this podcast. And that will bring us to the Holofeed. Tio?
Okay, and actually not much news this week. I guess we're in the hiatus before Game Update 2.6 arrives on next Tuesday, February 4th. So, what do we have? Oh, we should also mention that we are hoping for some more information to come out of the Community Cantina being held in Phoenix, Arizona this Friday. Our own good friend Gina Dye will be attending, so we'll have a man on the spot be able to give us the latest hot news. And so hopefully, we really are hoping they're going to reveal some new story content, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, in the news, speaking of new content, Charles Boyd, lead writer, has tweeted that he's actually in LA right now working with voice actors and that they're recording for upcoming SWOTOR updates.
Yay, exciting.
He did also tweet a picture of him with a voice actor who I couldn't identify, and neither could the people I saw responding. So someone who does one of the class voices. So there's some good stuff coming, it would seem. No hints as to what it is, of course.
Right.
All right. We also have, just from the forums, in response to a player wondering why the Raccoon vaccine does not persist through death, and as we all know, it does not. BioWare have confirmed that that is working as intended. Now, I guess the reason for that is that when you get to Newcomer, you can purchase the relics, the Bind to Legacy relics, which have the on-use ability to inject yourself with the vaccine. It works exactly the same way. You get 6 hours of immunity, and it stays there even after you take the relic off. So
right, and those are the ones that have presence and endurance on them.
Yeah. Correct.
I did reach Newcomer. I did buy the 25 level ones for them, for my character, and I guess I should put those on, assuming I have Ding 25, like I think I have.
Yep. So I mean, it's easy enough to get around that, or you just spend the 2K, or use the DNA samples.
Right. And the higher level relics also just require Newcomer. They're more expensive in terms of credits, but you don't need any more rep, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, the highest one is level 45, a 45 relic.
Which is nice. That'll tide you over until maybe you hit war zones at 55 or whatever.
Indeed.
Or maybe get one from a flashpoint.
Right. And Ben B mentions a relic has a 5-second cooldown, so yes, you do have to wait 5 seconds after equipping it before you can actually inject yourself, so be aware of that. For next time when the Rackles arrive, because as we know, the event did end on Tuesday morning, as predicted, as they stated. Alright, moving on. Jesse Sky, senior designer, has written a news article about the new Hewitt Drive Yards Flashpoint that is being added in Game Update 2.6. Not a lot of new information there. He does provide a bit of colour about what's going on. So the general gist of it is that Hewitt Drive Yards is a key part of the Republic's war machine in terms of manufacturing starships, etc. And the Empire has decided time is right for a strike, but it's being defended really well. So there's a big fight, and obviously we're a key part of that in Galactic Starfighter, and presumably as part of this flashpoint. Now, they did clarify, when they're talking about tactical flashpoints, of which Hewitt Drive Yards is one, by that all they mean is it's role neutral, which means that the Zerka Labs and Zerka Core Meltdown flashpoints are also tactical. And so the additional characteristics of it being level neutral and bolstered, that's just special for Hewitt Drive Yards. Now, we do have a bit more information about that. Specifically, well, they did mention firstly that even though it's level neutral and you will be bolstered, your companions will not. So if you walk in the door with less than a full group and you try and use your companions, they will not be bolstered. So
yeah, they're going to get one shot if they draw any aggro.
If they're anything less than 55, yeah.
Right. I would say if you're desperate and you got to bring out one, of course, bring out the highest level one you can, but make it a healer so that they're hopefully standing back, not taking AoE damage, because they're not going to last long.
Yeah. Good point. And your presence probably benefits healers the most, really. Yeah. Now, they did talk about the structure. Now, as we knew, it was kind of dynamic in terms of it's different every time you go in there. But what they clarified was you'll be assigned 2 out of 5 possible gameplay scenarios, and then you'll be matched against 1 of 3 final bosses. Now, from what I've heard it described, this is done by having different levels. Like there's 2 different levels and then the final boss, and those 2 different levels are different every time.
I see. You're not talking about character levels. You're talking about like levels, like
levels of a complex.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
So, actually, just hold a sec. I'm definitely getting an echo from one of you guys. Can you check the volume on your headset, please? Just make sure that it's sealed. I'm hearing myself come through.
I'm gonna turn mine into mute to see if it goes away.
Try talking
Right.
to you.
Testing.
Off mute.
All right. Testing again. Yeah, it's you, Jacob.
Okay. How do I need to solve it?
Turn your headset volume down so you can barely hear us.
Right. That's the idea.
Oh, turn my volume down. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, you want us just loud enough to hear and no more.
It is tricky to get the right balance sometimes.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
How about that now?
Test.
All right.
Test.
Testing. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay,
Beautiful.
Sorry about that.
No worries. All right, leave a little pause. Well, I'll find it when I get here.
Yep.
Where'd I get up to?
We were talking
Alright,
about
so-
the levels. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, so basically that works out to if you've got 2 floors, which are out of 5 possible combinations, so there's about 20 combinations of that, 3 final bosses. So
Very cool.
and it's basically 60 different variants. In addition, there are different bonus objectives and different mini bosses that will be added into the mix as well. So
This sounds like a ball. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Now, when you think about it, this is actually more than just a flashpoint. There's like multiple flashpoints worth of content in just this guy. So, yeah, I'm just thinking about it from a perception point of view. It's one
And-
flashpoint.
Right. But it'll feel fresh each time you
Yeah.
go in. That's nice. And depending on your luck, you might go a bunch of times without seeing one particular scenario or one particular end boss, and then all of a sudden you'll do it one more time, and it's like, oh, I've never done this one before. Yay! I finally got this scenario.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's gonna be good.
Agreed. Well, we'll see. The question is how much it's been tested. But yeah, anyway, I'm sure it'll all work out. Finally, they're adding the Starfighter launch deck we've talked about before, and that's where you can talk to a couple of the key players and all the new companions that were added with Galactic Starfighter. Apparently, there's a bit of story associated with them.
Cool.
Now, I have also heard the reputation, as you mentioned in the article as well. You get reputation tokens at the end for completing it rather than gear. It's unclear what other tokens
I
you'll
see.
get. And because it's level neutral, I guess it was a bit unclear how else
What
to
sort
solve
of-
that problem.
What sort of rewards there'll be? Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe level 15 plus empty socketed gear, stuff like that is going to be available from the rep vendor.
Yeah,
We don't know.
basically.
Something
Well, they
like
mentioned achievements, titles, exclusive rewards, such as gear that you're mentioning,
Yeah.
just cosmetic stuff. Shipwright armor and the highly unusual KDL orbital lifter mount.
I
So
have no idea what that would look like. It sounds cool though.
it does. All right, so moving on. Electronic Arts held their Q3 2014 earnings conference call. It was yesterday, actually, Tuesday, 28 January.
Uh-huh.
I did listen in, and just for the whole hour, fascinating stuff. I'm sure you can imagine. The only bit of interest, obviously listening for mention of SWOTOR in particular, was during Blake Jorgensen, who's their CFO's prepared remarks. He mentioned that extra content and PC free-to-play contributed to $13 million in, is that quarter? Wow. Anyway, led by continued growth in FIFA, a couple of FIFA things, and SWOTOR. So SWOTOR is definitely a big player there.
Right.
But he also mentioned that subscriptions, yada yada, for what they just their digital revenue is actually down. over the last period last year due to subs in SWTOR declining over the year. So lots of good growth in free-to-play, and that's what they attributed to growth in the free-to-play offering, but subs are still going down.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah.
Overall, they must have done okay because I see that EA went up today on a day when the Dow Jones was down, and down pretty
That's
heavily.
good.
So yeah, the markets accepted the information with some happiness.
Yep. And let's see. Finally, in the news, it was an interview back with MMO Bomb with Jeff Hickman, who's now the general manager of Bio Austin. Used to be the main guy on SWTOR specifically, about Galactic Starfighter. The interview was back on 15 November last year. I think we must have missed it at the time. Got to say, MMO Bomb's not a site I would visit on a regular basis. They seem to specialize in mainly free-to-play online games.
Okay.
Whatever.
Hey,
Anyway,
it's a good
couple
niche.
Yep. Now, just the points I drew out of it. Number of players at the time, so this was November last year, he mentioned about almost 1 million people are playing SWTOR every month.
Okay.
That seems like a fairly nice number.
Yeah.
He talked about paying for expansions. Now, what he said was he looks at expansions in two different ways. There's an expansion that expands a story, the level cap. The top end of the game, such as Rise of the High Cartel.
Right.
And they will always sell that kind of expansion. So if we get another one of those, it looks like they are going to charge us for it, just like they did for McKeb.
Right.
And that's because...
And presumably, like Rise of the Cartel, once that content is kind of played out, then it will become free at some point.
That would make sense.
So essentially, you're paying to get it right away.
Yep. And that's because he's taken concerted effort across the entire team that end up being very big prospects, etc. These types of expansions, such as Starfighter, Galactic Starfighter, being the first one that they're doing, is really kind of a broadening of the game. Right. It's not something that you have to be level 55 to do. You can be level 1 and play Starfighter. It's not something that is required for playing the core game. So they're thinking that these broadening of the whole offering thing is something they don't charge you for, but actual expansion of the core game, such as new content, leveling content or whatever, is. So there you go. At the end of the year, when the next X-Pack comes out, or whenever, expect to pay your $10,
right,
or whatever.
Or whatever it turns out to be.
That's a reasonable amount. I mean, honestly, $10 for that amount of content. You know, the GS Galactic Starfighter, that's a whole new game essentially. You could, like, you guys just sitting there and play that all day, and I sit and play PvP. So yeah, it's a good deal. For $10, you get 1,000 hours of gameplay. That's pretty fair. You go to a movie, it's $25, to buy popcorn. And so people complain about that, but I mean, $10, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I really don't get all the complaining about the free-to-play model. I just don't get it. But anyway, let's not dwell on that. He mentioned the experience you get from Galactic Starfighter. He said it is intended that the higher and higher you get in levels, the less you'll get from GSF.
Ah, okay.
So that is intended.
He said that, but my buddy went from 40 to 55, and it didn't seem to slow down. It was like a level every 2 days.
Depends how much he was playing, of course.
Oh yeah, that's true. But it's not like he was playing more and more every single day either.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't tail off. So, which I'm excited by. I'm 43, almost done too.
Now he's talking about Galactic Starfighter, the modes, and obviously we have Domination. He's also talking about the Deathmatch mode, which is coming in Game Update 2.6, and a mode they're calling Assault. And they've got a bunch of different modes that they're experimenting with. So while we've only got Domination and Deathmatch coming, clearly there is more in the wings.
Yeah, I remember Assault from the achievements on the beta server too. Although we never got to play it.
Right.
Yep. He's talking about new environments, and we do have confirmation. Oh, I'll mention that later.
Okay.
On the subject of PvE in space, whether there'll be a PvE mode for Galactic Starfighter. He says it's fully possible for BioWare to do PvE in space. They just don't know if they're going to do it. There's a
Right.
contingent of players out there who right now are going, wait a minute, where's my PvE mode? And they're hearing it, and they're listening, and they'll continue to listen. They're going to support this part of SWOTO as one of its core cool components for years to come, and they've got lots of opportunity to improve it. So all that says, well, no promises. They're listening, and if enough people are clamoring for it, yes, they will add it.
It would be fun, and it would open up certain types of gameplay that you can't really do with the PvP with everyone in their own ship. So you could set up something where you're supposed to attack a giant, capital ship with your little starships, and that wouldn't really work unless people are willing to just have a turret and not their own ships. So that could be fun.
Well, let's finish with his future plans. They asked him what are his future plans, future content, and he says, and I'll just read this verbatim, boy, we have so many crazy ideas, and I don't want to start any crazy rumors on the internets about this stuff. We have a lot of ideas, whether it be things we've talked about. Could we do PvE type add-on to this? Absolutely, we could. So that's maybe, and again, I don't want to start a rumor. We're not working on that right now, but it's definitely something we talk about. We also talk about adding additional different types of ships. Could you go with bigger ships? Could you do something where it does affect the ground game? There's a lot of things that we discuss, and I think what we want to do, we want to get through probably February or March, see how it's going, see the reaction of players, listen to what they're saying, and then lean in step by step to the things they want. So I guess the bottom line there is, if there is something particular you want to see, like PvE, make your voice heard.
Yeah, this seems like a particularly good time to do it, since they are not firm in where they're set yet. So.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the news.
All right, that'll bring us to the community corner. And let's see, OSW Guild, which we talked about a few times last week. They tweeted to a bunch of podcasts. Our concise guide for hard mode ILS is up.
So the one we talked about last time was the story mode version guide that they put out. Now they have the hard mode version. So again, for next time, it doesn't, well, no guarantee it's the ILS on the other planets as well. Well, let's hope it's not.
I would imagine different ones, but who knows?
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought when I was reading through the achievements that it actually seemed to imply the same boss.
Okay.
But I did think that was odd, too.
All right. Now, we also have a tweet from Chong. He drunk tweeted on during Fight Club. Yeah, anyway, reminding people that he and Mosk will be in Las Vegas. I will link to the thread in our forums where he mentions it. If you do want to meet up with at least he and Mosk on February 22nd.
And I will be there. I'm planning on being there too, actually. So.
Excellent. So, Chill, Mosk, and Moff Chong. And whoever else can make it.
Yep, I still need to get the tickets, but I was supposed to over the weekend, but it's something I need to, meet up with my wife, and we ended up getting busy and blah, 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 but I am going to be getting the tickets here the next few days, and looking forward to that. I'm also hoping to see Penn and Teller, since I happen to love them, and I've never seen them live, so that'll be fun.
Cool.
All right, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that meetup. Basically centered around Saturday, February 22nd. Will be the idea, although I will probably be flying in Friday and probably flying out late Sunday if my understanding of the airline routes is correct. All right, so that'll bring us to the Force Feedback, where we read out your tweets and emails. And Brightstar at TweetyOwl tweeted to us a picture. Keep calm and Ootini.
It's a great picture, yeah.
And let's see, Dunadai at Dunadai4L tweeted to us and read, I just finished watching episode 117. Watching, he means because he's looking at the YouTube version. And the 715 objective points mostly came from defending and recapping the satellite 3 times. So we were wondering how he got so many objective points. So
yeah,
there you go. We were right about a lot of defense points, but he also recapped 3 times. That's pretty high.
That'll definitely boost you a lot.
Yep. And let's see, Oxygen tweeted to us, great having Bill back. I took lots of notes. Please keep having Bill back. He's a great contribution to the podcast, even beyond his credit-making schemes. Thanks.
And we can confirm that Bill will return next week in episode 119.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Dan O'Brien at DSanOB tweeted to myself and OotiniCast and to Bill, I'm loving Bill's credit-making tips and tricks. Keep them coming. And let's see, the Malgadar, at the Malgadar, quote of the week 116. Get used to disappointment. It is the bloody rat ghouls. Tio berating Red over the new event.
And it was the bloody rat ghouls.
And the Malgadar says, I think Red was just channeling his inner hip for a moment there, so go easy on him, Tio. And quote of the week 117. Dr. Red says, let yourself blow up and infect other people. Chill making light of Red not using vaccines. And it sounds like Dr. Red is a graduate of Korriban Medical. And I would agree, and he probably had a residency on Drummond Cos. And Steve, a.k.a. Chong, also known on Twitter as Empire Divider, also known as the head of the Utini Fight Club, also known as Moff Chong. He goes by many names. Tip of the week. If you want that cool rat ghoul pet, drive around the city on Alderaan. When a gold rat ghoul spawns, kill it. If it does not spawn, ignore the mobs and move to a new location. You don't need to kill them as long as you're on your mount. So, and yeah, I don't think we mentioned this, but if you're going around where you pick up the, where you do the initial talk, to when you're on Alderaan, not far from the spaceport, just going around that area, you'll just have rat ghouls kind of pop up and attack you. And if you're on your mount, you can just easily get away from them. So, but yeah, apparently if you see one of them pop up, that's a nice gold star. Go ahead and drop off your mount. It'll be your level, and take them out, and you have a chance, I guess, of getting the rat ghoul pet. So that's cool. I assume it's a chance and not a 100% chance, but I haven't actually done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's see, Peter Bartel at zrid_. Just a tip for the rat ghoul event: there are Thorn speeders taking you to and from the tunnel entrances. Look for the faction icon above a speeder next to the Thorn triage tents.
Now, those are the tents where we first talk to an NPC when you arrive on Alderaan. Mm-hmm. And yes, neither Chill nor myself knew about these. It was pointed out to us by, I think it was Ben B. Someone did.
Like the next day, we
yeah, and
we got to do it the normal way, or the good
way.
way.
It's so much faster because it's an insta travel. You just take the speeder.
Yeah, and the nearest regular speeder is not very close to the spike, so.
No.
Yeah, it's actually a long way off.
Yeah.
Much better.
Yep. Yeah, I just wasn't, I wasn't looking for anything like that. I just assumed that we were all taking speeders to it. So I didn't even notice that there was a clickable speeder with a little icon above it. All right. Anyway, Daniel Fitzgerald at Jedi Cal. Apparently being infected means you can't sit down on a speeder. And he has a picture of him doing sort of a surfboard standing up on his speeder in the fleet. I guess that's the fleet. No, that's actually the start of the war zone, the Void Star. So yeah, he's standing up and his eyes are glowing on the speeder.
Wow.
And let's see, and Armageddon at Greg Carter 78 had a similar picture. He says Extreme Thranta, and he too is standing up on the back of a Thranta on Alderaan. He
That's
probably
pretty
didn't
cool.
notice the speeder either.
Yeah.
And let's see, Armageddon at Greg Carter 78 also tweeted, I checked my banks. I had 101 rat ghoul DNA from the last event. So I just got outdone by Empire Divider, aka Chong, who had 109.
Better than my 23, that's for sure.
Yeah. I looked for him on my main and I just could not find it. I'm not sure if I stashed it on some, other character, or if I just managed to, just spend them down, or if I just missed them in my bank somewhere. Whatever. Don't think I had that many, because I do think I kind of spent them down as much as I could. Mariah wrote to us, while my exposure to the event was limited, I did get a chance to fight the new boss on story mode and hard mode. This event boss was a little lackluster as far as mechanics go, and even hard mode was really just a tank and spank, avoiding the fire and killing some trivial ads. Still, it's always fun to try a new fight. This brings me to the reason for sending you a mail. I was curious what you guys thought of the daily, where your goal was to infect others. In general, it seemed that many found this very entertaining. A few of the more entitled special snowflakes complained that they could not remove the vaccine buff, which made me laugh. I'm thinking of this and the voice announcement on the Imperial fleet to make arrangements for your own incineration if you contracted the virus made me think of a different approach they could have had. One more akin to the transition plague event that occurred in WoW from the Burning Crusade to Frozen Throne. It might have been fun if you got to stage 3 and then you could blow up on command rather than on a timer. I could even see this stage getting a strong Oracle damage reduction and a CC breaker. To balance this, at stage 3 you would become targetable by players and be hunted by NPC guards on site. For quarantine by pub or cleansed on the imp side. That's a funny idea. Cool. That would be very cool.
It would be.
Maybe, and it seems like a relatively smallish change. I mean, I could see that being done in the game, and it would be a lot of fun to make it voluntary when you blow up after your timer runs out. I did actually like that daily. It was kind of fun. I mean, because it takes 20 minutes to get through all the timers, it's a little annoying and a little awkward. But I did manage to do it on a couple of characters. And the nice thing is, if you happen to infect 3 people when you blow up, it just comes up and it's already done and you're done. So it's easy enough to, to complete in that sense. On one time I blew up and I only managed to get 2, and then it just became a mission. It just popped up as a mission, and I was 2 of 3, and then the next time I blew up, it finally completed.
Right.
So, I was, and it certainly seemed like the plague cleaned itself out pretty quickly once the event ended.
Yeah, I actually noticed that you couldn't catch it anymore. I did see a few more people exploding, but no one was able to catch it. So. Yeah,
exactly. The original event that the plague hung on for quite a few weeks, actually.
Yeah.
Where it finally went away.
People were deliberately keeping it alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was one of them.
Oh yeah, it's because it was fun.
It was really fun.
I wish they would have just left it like that. That would be a hoot, but did not happen. All right, John Long at Arvachet tweeted, "Meh, finished it, the Ratghoul event. Only reason to do it now is for the pets and mounts." But he gives a smiley face, so I guess he likes pets and mounts. Graham Sellers at Graham M. Sellers. Ratghoul rep maxed out the weekly 12k allowance, and I've managed to save up an extra 40k rep to use in the coming week.
Wow.
The next time it's on, I will need only 17k more rep to max out rep for the event.
Jeez, I wonder how many ults he was running it on. Yeah.
That is a lot of Ratghoul killing.
That is. That 17k, which means so he won't actually be able to hit Legendary by the end of the next time it's here, unless they make it last more than a week.
Well, he will.
Because it's a 12k rep max, right?
So he'll just do it the day after, basically.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yep. Adam Awesome Sauce at the Tripster1 with some numbers in there and stuff. Accepting all CC donations for this weekend's Ratghoul 5k run for the cure.
I'll bet.
All right. And Spencer at Dad_Dirty_Spoons. Crap, I really hope I don't have to hold on to all the Ratghoul DNA containers for another 2 years.
Yeah, these tweets were in response to the announcement that the event was ending on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Which, even if he does, if you don't have more than 50 of them, it's probably not worth keeping him.
4 to 6 weeks, and he's talking about the DNA canisters,
The new
not the
ones,
DNA.
So, yep.
The old ones.
Expendable soon.
No, I know. I'm just saying if you had to wait another 2 years, then they would do something like that, like they did this time.
Right.
Chaz Lobo at Strong Shocker tweeted back, I believe. Not really a good containment then, huh?
No, they contain the plague on Alderaan, but where else will it break out?
Yep. And Slade at Dirta Dirta. I have a feeling I'm going to log in tomorrow afternoon and find all my characters sealed in the tunnels with the plague. And Road at that Road guy replayed back, I'm glad I'm not the only one hoping to be sealed in. Imagine if the fleet passes were broken too. It's a feature. And then Joe Ferran at Joseph _Ferran tweeted back.
Oi, foreign. Joseph Foreign.
Foreign, okay.
He told us how to pronounce it.
All right, foreign. I left my jug there. I logged into empty tunnels, and then there was an auto eject to the fleet. Empty of mobs, but the NPCs were there. Couldn't get to a vendor before the kick timer ran down.
Yeah, other people have said that as well. In fact, even though it said you got 10 seconds, according to Bill, he got kicked out after 2 or 3 seconds, and you just get transported straight out. Yep.
Yep. Turg at the Turg wrote, no, I was about to make my 10-second run to buy my legacy weapons when I exploded. Now the last of my tunnel characters is on the fleet.
Oh well.
Yep. Yeah, it's as soon as you log in, so it probably has a lot to do with your computer and when the actual screen shows up and that sort of thing. The timer is probably rolling by the time you actually see yourself.
Yep.
So, Dunadai at Dunadai Pharrell tweeted new Tauntaun mounts, and he has a picture of some sort of rocking horse Tauntaun for kids. It's a good picture. I actually saw it on Google Plus, and I answered back there. I said, your Tauntaun won't make it past, well, anywhere, really. They do look great, though.
Yeah, they do.
And let's see. Daniel Fitzgerald at Jedi Cal tweeted to us, so close. And he has a picture. Yes, you managed to avoid this one, Tio, but this was this week with myself, Dunadai, and Cal. And it was 1,000 to 993, and we were the 993, unfortunately.
Heartbreaking.
Yep, but it's always fun when it's that close, so...
Even more fun if you won, but yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Right. And Ferris Terran at Ferris Terran tweeted to us, I've got the Starfighter battle camera. It's exactly what you described.
Cool.
There
Very
we go.
cool.
Another way to heal up between fights. Let's see. I do like those, actually. It sounds like I'm making light of it, but on most of my characters I use the Carbonite one because I like that one a lot. And if I'm on a dark character, I use the nasty medical table thing that looks like a torture device. Snowy at Biotor Snowdog tweeted, I got 12 daily and 3 weekly GS rewards burning a hole in my cargo hold. I want to upgrade my Strike Fighter, but I must resist until 2.6. It is hard, I know. I've got a whole almost half of my regular bags are full of those things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in Tio Red's category, but I'm getting there. Snowy also tweeted, I tried Strike Fighter and wondered what loadout Tio used. Perhaps a discussion of who uses which crew, weapons, and so on.
So I will include a link with my loadout using Dolphy's Galactic Starfighter build calculator and my crew using our own OotiniCast crew calculator, just so you can, for Snowy, so you could see. But what we'll do in some subsequent weeks is have some roundtables for the different roles. The first one will be Gunship, including such luminaries as Junadai and Megadan. So that's something we are planning.
They are the gunship specialists. That'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and we'll do one with Strike Fighter as well. We'll go through our individual loadouts and stuff in detail.
That sounds good. Nathaniel Starr wrote, so the operative DPS buff seems to be substantial. Too substantial. So check out these parses from 2 different operatives. And he links to 2 different Tor parses.
These parses are higher than Carnage Marauders, higher than everyone except Smashers. This is very bad for the casting classes. So, Jacob, what do you reckon? Is the operative buff too high?
Well, depending on what you're thinking about, I mean, if it's you're sitting beating on a dummy, you can put out huge numbers, right? Well, the damage that you can do sustained is important, right? But what does the operative not have? Doesn't have AoE reduction, right? So you get out your big huge hit, now you're getting smashed for 10k versus the power tech getting smashed for 3k. So their damage is great, especially for objective-based PvP 8-mans, but we don't have 8-man ranked right now. I think a lot of people will get frustrated because they're just going to own people on nodes and objective-based because they got the roll, so they got really high movement speed. It's a lot of fun to play, but I just don't think they're going to be a major factor in arenas currently just because their defensive cooldowns aren't there, not their offense. You know, that's my opinion.
Right. The 3 or 4 second dodge is good, but you have to time it just right.
Right.
Yeah, and, well, we knew they were underpowered. Whether they're now overpowered or not does remain to be seen, but at least they're certainly clearly players now, as in competitive. So I guess we'll just see, and they'll tweak it accordingly if they really are reigning terror too much.
Yeah. Like I say, I'm looking forward to trying it on my leveling character. Alright, Alex Madsen wrote in, "Hey guys, been a couple weeks since I've written in. Halfway through the episode this week, and won't finish it until I commute back home. But I think I've got a lot to reply to you guys about this week. Congrats on clearing the Warlords. Styrek will die the next time you guys meet. His enrage, however, isn't always a huge deal. Here's a video of the raid team I lead, clearing it some time ago, with the boss enraging at 14%.
Oh, wow. He was hitting pretty hard, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, we were going down pretty quickly once he enraged. All right, but it's something to think about. You know, maybe next time we get there, when he does enrage, don't just assume that it's a wipe. You know, keep fighting. I know we often have fought through the giant droid in Scum and Villainy. We've fought through enrage a few times.
No, when we hit a rage, we wipe.
Okay. I could have sworn
really.
we've done it at least once, but...
No.
All right. Never mind then. Let's see. So, Alex continues to read. 2 of the bugged achievements for Ilum Beastmaster are obtainable at this point in time on other planets. So that's what you were thinking there, Red.
Yeah,
that it was an Ilum achievement, but they were actually on other planets. So.
Yeah, I'm really glad he did clarify that.
Yeah. He continues, on Tuesday when the Ratcool event started, I was trekking through Alderaan on my Lobi, doing the exploring up to the spike. At this point, all I needed for Galactic Beastmaster was the Ilum Bogwing. Outside House Alda, I killed a Cath Hound and got my missing Bogwing entry. Weird, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that is weird.
very much.
Did he, eat a Bogwing right before you attacked him? I don't know. Anyway, Alex continues, after I got my Galactic Beastmaster achievement, I looked and found that the Ilum Beastmaster achievement had disappeared from the achievements completely, while I retained my Galactic Beastmaster achievement. That's odd. Let me know if you need some coordinates, Red. I'll be happy to oblige. And finally he writes to Tio, we had no matches together this week. That's why you're winning. Normally we have a couple of matches together per week, but I have not seen you guys. Here's a list of my guild's main GSF players. The top 4 is usually a pre-made group, which we won't read out.
However, those names were indeed well known to us. So, yes these guys, one of them in particular, is our nemesis. So, well,
were they on your kill on sight list?
Yes, that's right. We have, well, not me specifically, but especially I think Dunadai keeps a rather lengthy list of players he considers to be good on the opposing side and keeps an eye out for them.
Yes, and we do tend to give them special attention when we encounter them with matches.
And finally, Alex writes, P.S. I've been loving Bill's tips lately. Keep them coming. There you go. Bill is very popular. And Tio, you wanted to summarize a few things.
Just one last thing for the force feedback. Chong tweeted to... actually, he was drunk tweeting to Amber as is his want. And he also tweeted to the new community rep, Tate Watson. To which Tate responded, "It's finally happened. Drunk tweets. I am so happy." And then Snowy says, "It seems your induction is complete." And Amber finally says, "The torch. She has been officially and fully passed." So, Tate, you have finally been fully initiated into the community team by being drunk tweeted by Lovejoy. Welcome.
It's real.
That's awesome.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
All right. That'll bring us to the Sarlacc Digest, where we go over the issues for 1,000 years, or until we run out of time. And let's see, we're going to start with T.O.'s quick overview of 2.6 without the class changes, and then we're going to go over the class changes so that we
With
can have our
Jacob.
PvP
Yes.
expert go over them. So,
Yes, indeed.
yeah, T.O., why don't you
Alright,
go
so-
ahead and start on the non-PvP class changes, or class changes.
So we won't belabor this because we have gone through them before, of course. We have the Bomber, which is coming. We do have the new game mode, Team Deathmatch, and we do finally have a confirmation, courtesy of Spencer at the Dirty Spoons, who said he did get in one Galactic Starfighter Team Deathmatch map on the PTS. That was before the Rackle event, and it is indeed a new map. So they have not reused the Keyword Mazes, or Lost Shipyards maps. They have got a new one for Team Deathmatch.
Awesome.
Anyway, moving on. A bunch of new stuff. We already talked about Keyword Drive Yards. Just a few things from the patch notes just to remember. You can now queue for Warzones, Grand PvP, and Galactic Starfighter at the same time. So come Tuesday, you'll be able to do that, which is nice. Press V by default to give you the rotate the ship to the default orientation. We do now have the free look, and I don't remember what the key is for that. That will let you free look around as you're flying.
Okay.
Targeted enemies now highlighted on the map in minimap screens. So the little green dots will have some indication about which guy you're currently targeting.
Yeah,
Even more usefully, we have a kind of target of target. When you select an enemy, you can see who he is targeting.
Oh, that'll be it. That'll really be helpful. And it'll
Yes,
make
indeed.
it'll make tactics more interesting as well.
Yep. So I'm looking forward to that. Your readied ship menu, the little bar of 5 ships down the bottom, you can finally drag ships off, so you can no longer use how many ships the other side has as a gauge for how good they are, or how new they are. So, yep, we'll see what difference that makes if anyone actually bothers.
Oh, I will.
Yep. And remember that you will be able to purchase the EMP missile on the Pike and Quell strike fighters, and that will be very useful against clustered enemies or mines and drones, which we'll be seeing a lot of with the bombers.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to try both of those. I have a hunch I'm going to like drones better, but I think the mines will be pretty effective as well.
Yep, I agreed. All right, that's it for all the stuff in 2.6 except for the class changes.
Okay. That'll get us on to Jacob's PvP Palooza. So, Jacob, did you have anything you wanted to start off with?
Oh, well, thanks for having me back on the show. Hopefully I can give some good advice here and learn from each other.
Yeah, glad to have you.
Started my blog, deltiusgaming.com. Kind of my wife inspired me, said, hey, you sit around and play video games all the time, why don't you do something about it and be constructive? So here I am, just trying to put some guides together and whatnot. I really like putting guides together and videos and just learning from people. So anyways, started that. And been working hard at it, making some guides, especially a big arena guide that took me quite a bit of time to make. So hopefully people get some use out of it. I have a lot of experience in SOTOR and PvP. I really learned a lot in this game, like high-end stuff. So I'm not the best by any means, but I think I've came a long way from when I started. So anyways, with that being said, the class changes. Now I'm probably going to paraphrase some of this stuff just because I don't want to bore everyone with reading over everything for an hour and a half. But Consulars and Inquisitors basically are getting a buff to their static barrier and pushback, which is essentially why you're casting something or channeling something. When you're taking damage or getting hit, it kind of resets the timer on it, essentially.
Right.
So is that a huge change? Not really, because you can still get knocked back, you can get stunned, you can,
Right, there's lots of ways to interrupt you. In fact, interrupts work, I believe.
Yeah, interrupts work. So I don't really see this being that much of a change. I really think that Sorks and Sages are actually in a good spot, particularly in arenas, solo. I think they're really good. The agents, I think, are just the number one healer, obviously, but they can. Sages I've seen and Sorks are figuring it out arena-wise. The line of sight and running fast, punting people, force lift is huge. So I think they're in a good spot.
Nice.
Moving on. So we got the agent. Orbital Strike's getting a huge change. Now this will affect a lot of things. Orbital Strike was one of those overpowered abilities. An AoE, hits like a truck. It does take a while to channel, but if you get it off with a good team and you time it, it will destroy the other team. And people just stand in it. They see, oh, red at the ground, I'm just going to keep fighting in here, and you'll just rack up tons of damage. I mean, you'll...
Right, because there are many other AoE damages in the game, and most of them, it's better to get out of it, but it's not absolutely critical.
Urgent, yeah.
Right. If it's Orbital Strike under the current patch, you should get out of it right away.
Red is bad. Move out of red. I do the same thing too. But so, in the PTS, people are freaking out about this, but it also comes with reduced damage, but also comes with reduced activation time, cooldown,
nice.
Energy cost. So I think it's bringing it in line where it needs to be. I mean, a healer shouldn't have the number one AoE damage ability in the game.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And the activation time reduction will be nice because that is a long cast.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in war zones where you're trying to maybe, prevent a door from being, recapped or whatever. And having a quicker way to get that down on the ground will be nice.
Yeah, the activation time is one of the problems with it. I mean, if a good player will let someone cast until it's, 2.8 seconds or whatnot, interrupt. Now you just spent 2 global cooldowns sitting there, not doing anything. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you don't get it off, it's a huge risk reward. But I see that change being good, to be honest with you. I mean, I think it's a little too powerful, especially for the healer. But I don't play snipers, so I really don't know how it affects that. So I really can't say.
Well, in PvP at least, I mean, you can try it other places, but it's basically used to prevent capture of nodes of various sorts. Simply because people can walk out of it otherwise. But the fact that it'll have a lower cooldown and a lowered activation time, both are good for PvP. You'll be able to use it more often, and it'll be easier to get it off in time. Because you can I've actually recapped, like someone's capped our door and we need to uncap the door.
Yep.
And I've actually uncapped it because they tried to stop me with Orbital Strike, and maybe they had finished the cast, but it hadn't actually landed yet, and I've got the door back. So you have to be really careful about using it. So the lowered activation time will help.
That's good. Yeah, I think it's a good place. The other major changes, obviously, to the scoundrels and whatnot are the DPS changes. So.
Right.
I played a DPS scrapper for quite a while on the Republic side, and it was just a blast to play. But it was not anywhere near as effective as the Assassin, in my opinion. Why? Because there was just so much burst with the Assassin. You're getting 10k crits. You just light someone up. Well, this is coming in line with it now. There's a lot of things. I'm not going to get into every single little change, but your sustained damage and energy should be on par with the other classes, single target-wise now. The problem was you would go in, enter a fight, blow all your stuff, and then really have nothing to rely on. So if you're a melee class, stealthed. If you're trying to do a battle and it's prolonged and you can't get out of stealth to regain your, all your abilities, it's just you're kind of just waiting around essentially, or just throwing a dot out or an orbital here and there and waiting for your energy to get up. So I think it's a good change. What's the problem with the scrapper still? It's just that it doesn't have the defensive abilities that the other ones do, like Assassin. An Assassin has, AoE reduction. It has a 25% damage reduction on command. Those things are huge, especially if you're a melee class and you're up in the fight. This game is all centered around AoE, in my opinion. PvP is, and you have to have something to mitigate that. But players will get around it. I mean, I've seen tons of them starting to roll these DPS operatives and stuff, and it's a blast. So I'm glad the class is back into it. But the nuts and bolts of it, I think it'll be very good for PvP. If 8v8 ranked was going on, these guys would be the node watchers from now on. They would be the node cappers from now on, but that's dead. So. But that's enough about that. Like I said, gunslingers I don't know too much about, so I can't really talk about their changes and how it'll affect the landscape, but I don't think it'll be significant. One thing that will affect the landscape of PvP is the bounty hunter change, which is advanced prototype, essentially your flamethrower. What was happening is you had these tanks that had full DPS gear and were just doing mega damage because they could be in the tank stance or cell or whatever you want to call it while doing this major DPS ability that was an area ability, essentially casting something, doing 5k ticks for 3 ticks. So 15k damage over a couple of seconds to an area.
Right.
That's basically a smash or two. So that's getting changed. Good. It should be the DPS only that gets this ability, and it'll make solo ranked a lot more even because, like I said in previous podcast, you get in there with the power tech tank and a Sork hybrid healer. You're basically listed as a DPS, but you got a healer tank. You're going to win the game. It's not fair. So I really like this. Then going down to the Merc, the big shell, Coastal Shell, is really a big change. It's kind of like I don't know what people would describe it as a buffed Sork bubble, essentially, or something. It's like a self-heal when you get hit. Apply it to different targets now. And the energy management probably be a little bit better. I don't play a Merc too much because they're a little underpowered, underwhelming. I don't like casting things either. I like to keep moving. So if I'm sitting there channeling something, I'm angry most of the time. But yeah, it's going to be good for them. I still think the DPS will struggle because they're not addressing the defensive cooldowns. I mean, that's really why classes are good or not. And I'll get to my Vanguard, why it's essentially a wrecking ball and rated, because it just has so many cooldowns defensive. Why are Marauders the number 1 on the leaderboard, or number 2, whatever they are now? They have 15 different cooldowns. They have a 45-second invisibility that provides 50% damage reduction. They got, Cloak of Pain, that's another 25%. You throw an Adrenal there, you're getting hit for pebbles. You're getting hit for nothing. I mean, but anyways. Moving on.
Do you think this will make them more viable as healers?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Because I know I've got a commando buddy. That's his favorite class for sure, and he's just eagerly counting down the days till the 4th because he wants to switch to go heals.
Commandos are awesome healers right now. The only problem is they can only keep themselves up. They're harder than heck to take down. Like if you're just a DPS on a commando, it's going to be hard to take them down. But they didn't have the group heals that other players could, and they had to cast everything versus an operative who's walking or running the whole time, spamming heals because they're proccing their little ability. So it'll bring it in line once they can throw the shell on everyone, and then it's kind of self-heals. And I don't think they're going to be the top dog, but I think it'll be a good change, especially for the healers. Like I said, DPS I think may still struggle a little bit, but so be it.
Do we know if there's a cap to how many people can get the trauma probe on them? Or whatever it's called for a bounty hunter?
The Coastal Shell?
Yeah.
No, there's no cap.
No cap at all. Awesome.
It's just a resource limitation in terms of how many you can cast at any given time.
Right. And
they don't last as long.
Right, they have fewer charges, more importantly. Hopefully it's not going to last the 3 minutes anyway in a fight. But the fact that it has only 6 charges means it'll be used a lot more often.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing it on multiple people, which you will be. It's really going to be a great change, though. I mean, essentially every time someone gets damaged, it's going to mitigate part of it each time.
Yep.
over the course of a fight, that's very strong.
Yep. Especially multiple players now, so it's like I said, it's like the operative has so much group healing and non-channel casting time healing that, anyways. Another one that's close to my heart here, Sith Warrior or Knight, the Juggernaut. I just don't think this buff is a good idea. The Warrior Juggernaut, in my opinion, suffers from lack of defensive cooldowns in PvP specifically, because they're a melee. They're supposed to be a tank, and they don't have AOE reduction yet. The Marauder does. They're a tank, but yet they don't have Cloak of Pain. The Marauder does. They're a tank, yet they don't have the invisibility. The Marauder does. What do they have? They have Enrage Defense, which is basically takes all your force away to give you low self heals.
Right.
What they need to do is redo that ability and make it a defensive AOE reduction or something defensively where it takes damage away from you. Giving them a little more damage, especially in the middle tree, is what's going on. I don't think. I mean, they're already pretty good middle tree damage-wise. The Rampage has been redesigned, which is essentially your Ravage proc thing. So now you have to do a couple of them instead of just randomly getting it. So I think that's good, especially for timing things. So I like that change. I mean, I'm going to do a lot more damage probably, but I'm still going to die, and I have to watch where I'm at. No AOE reduction, so I'm using Intercede on cooldown all the time, trying to get out of the fight and back in, so on. So, anyways, that's my opinion of the changes. I think they're good. I think there's still a couple things out of balance in PvP, ranked arenas specifically. I just think the Marauder is still the most overpowered class I've ever played in any game. When I play it, it's just, I call it derp smash. I go in there, no one attacks you as a Marauder. No one attacks you. They're like, oh, it's a Marauder, leave him for last. Yeah, it's
right.
You have so many cooldowns.
Or if they're really on the ball, they'll at least maybe try to knock you away or try to CC you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but so anyways, not to keep banging on Marauders, because I have Marauder and a Sentinel and I've played them, but at some point I just kind of feel like, I don't know, it's just kind of cheesy. But moving on. Okay. So real reason I'm here, I think the real reason I'm here is to share a little bit about my arena experience. I wrote a guide, like I said, on my blog recently. Today, in fact, I've been working on it the last couple of days really hard. And I really like arenas. I wish the old 8-man PvP was still around. That was my favorite because it's just objective based.
Right.
Still my favorite, but arenas is what we have to do competitively, so that's what I'm going to do. So basically this has been around since October 2013. I've pretty much played almost every class competitively in solos or 4-mans. My top rated character is my Vanguard, and we'll get to why. 1687 or 1681 is my current elo right now. I almost broke 1700, but I haven't been doing much with them recently because one of the problems is we don't know what the rewards are we were promised. SWTOR said we're going to have Season 1, it's going to be different, and we're going to have rewards, and we're going to have this and that. Well, what happened? We have no idea. So I'm not going to slave over my elo when we have no idea what it's going to be. You're fighting over.
Right.
So
and
I'm kind of...
Apparently a lot of people have been saying much the same thing. I mean, between that and being distracted by Galactic Starfighter, ranked arenas are pretty low.
Dead. They're
right
dead.
now. Mm-hmm.
They're completely dead. I mean, that's why I kind of backed off the game a little bit and just started doing regs again. Number one, I love them. Number two, it's like, if you don't play at 9 o'clock at night, you're not getting a queue. And that's on the Prophecy of 5. And that's pretty... Yeah. I mean, it used to be I could play at 1 o'clock during my lunchtime, and I'd play back to back to back, and that was a blast. But it's just there's too much going on right now, especially the Rat Gold event, and people don't like losing. I don't like losing either. So what happens is the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and then you see a huge separation between the middle class kind of thing. Not getting into economics here, and then people stop. They're done. They get on, lose twice, they're done. Yep.
Right.
Done.
Because they've gotten as high as they think they can get, and they might as well hang around for the rewards that they don't know exactly
no
what
one
level
knows.
they need.
Yeah, no one knows.
And so on. Or they get beaten down so much that they decide, well, I'll just go do something else.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to PvE. And believe me, there's a lot of people that tell other people to do that.
Yeah. Tio, based on your page that follows and tracks the arenas...
I'm checking now. I'll get back to you in a minute.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right. Sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
Oh, no problem. So back to the arenas, there's a couple things you can do, a few things actually, before I even step in the arenas as far as my setup goes and my UI and whatnot.
Okay.
So first thing I do is I made a video to a bunch of different things. There's 2 websites that are really helpful. One called Tour Assistant. Essentially, this is a third-party program. It is authorized by the game, so it's not some hack or anything like that. All it does is read your combat file and alerts you when there's procs. So, for instance, the Juggernaut has that Rampage proc where it makes kind of a laugh, like the old Power Tech, so I know when my Ravage is off cooldown. Well, there's another one that is basically I can use my Vicious Throw, my big, huge hit ability, anywhere or at any time. So there's no sound for that.
Exactly. And it's
all you do is
tricky to look for.
Yeah, it is, and especially when you're looking at your focus target, you're looking at buff bars, you're looking at debuff bars, you're looking if your healer needs a peel. There's a lot to pay attention to. So you can make a sound, which is like a beep, or you can make your own custom sounds, which I did, like do this ability or something, and it's quite helpful over the long term. I mean, it doesn't sound right away, but it's enough to get you on track.
Right. Yes, I've used it myself. It's excellent. It's a little tricky to use on some types of buffs, like stacking buffs. I have never been able to figure out how to tell me like when I'm at 3 stacks instead of 1 stack. But for the most part, it's really handy, and you can set up a lot of different ways. I like it a lot, and I do appreciate the fact that it also you can tell it to, like if it's an 18-second cooldown, you can tell it to tell you at 18 seconds, but you can also tell it to do it at 16 or 17 or 17 and a half seconds, whatever you find is best for your particular setup.
Yeah, so it's not only procs, like you said, it's defensive cooldowns too. So another one is like the Marauder Cloak of Pain. You should basically be using that on cooldown if you're in the AoE area. So what happens? You use it right away, and you tell me when this thing's up again. Boom, you get the little sound, and you're using it again. So it's super helpful. Like I said, it is authorized or whatnot, so don't get afraid. And it's really light too. It's not going to soak up tons of resources. But if you don't need it, you don't need it. I think it's useful. Another thing to do, my UI. I can't stand the default SWTOR user interface. Found this really good program called SWTOR UI. There's a specific one on the top in this page. It's like the GeoCafui general UI, and I took that and made some modifications to it. So essentially my UI, you can see in the pictures, is everything is close to the bottom. Now why do I do that? Because that's where I'm looking. I'm looking at my buff bars. I don't look at the characters. I don't, because I'm looking at if they have a defensive cooldown up, and I'm basing that off of their buff bar. So I don't even really look at my character often. So that's why I want everything where I can see it in one position. And so there's some useful things, and maybe that's not a good setup for you, but it works for me. And then going on, you hit the escape button, and then you're at preferences. There's a few things I like to click or make sure that are enabled and whatnot.
Okay.
A focus target, made a video about this, and we'll talk about it a little more in length. You got to have this on. You have to have focus target on. I'm a healer, I shouldn't use. No, you need focus target on. And we'll get to everyone could be using this appropriately. Right. Set camera distance to 100%. I do that because I always zoom it out as far as I can. I like to look around what's going on.
Absolutely.
Personal preference. The ability action queue, I'm going to get to that a little bit later, but I set that at 0.5, which it's kind of hard to explain, but we'll get to that. Combat log, once again, if you're using Tor Assistant or something similar, you have to have that enabled so it reads your combat log in a separate file.
Mm-hmm.
Some other helpful ones, detailed tooltip, just to look at your gear and whatnot. The operation frame, that's specifically helpful in the 8-mans because it has everyone in an ops frame versus kind of these group windows, so I like that. Showdown cool text, show cooldown text. I can't live without that, without the timer going off of my cooldowns, knowing the seconds. I mean, it used to be just the shades, and you're looking at it like, if it's a long one and it's all about done, that might be 5 seconds, it might be 20,
Right.
So it's way helpful.
Yeah, my preference is 3 and 2 for the pull downs. I don't remember exactly what that does, but for me it
Oh,
makes it
really?
nice and clear. Yeah, and I make the numbers as big as they can be, and then I reduce
Okay.
the tenth of a second down to 2 seconds. Because if it's over that, I don't really care how many tenths of a second it is. But if
I
it's
might have to
below
change that.
two, if it's below two, I'm happy to see it's 1.2 instead of
Oh, that's a
whatever.
good idea. Yeah, I might have to change that and check that out because I always just use the style one or whatnot. I hadn't experimented with too much.
Yeah, when it first came out, I played around with it a little bit, and I ended up liking 3 and 2. So
Cool.
yeah, and definitely the big numbers. Definitely, the regular size numbers are okay, but if you make it the max, which I think is 20 or something, then it basically fills up the box, and you can see it
Oh, that's
really
good.
easily.
That's a good idea. Another thing is suppress crew member rewards. When I'm always sending
Yes,
out
yeah,
crafters,
Warzone.
just so all of a sudden, boom.
Right.
So I failed this crafting mission. And I'm trying to fight someone, and it's just fail.
Yeah, there's something to be said for efficiency and crew skills, but not at the expense of dying in a
No,
war zone.
no, not expensive losing a node or being an idiot. But I had to learn that the hard way a couple times. This is T.O.'s favorite guide here. Nameplates always show resolve bar. He debates if that's useful or not. I personally like that a lot.
Why does it
Just
make a difference, given that you'll always see the bar if you have any resolve?
now, is that the case on only you or is it everyone?
That's everyone.
So as soon as someone gets resolved, then and it doesn't go away until it's all resolved. It's fully
Correct.
gone.
Yep.
I don't know. I just like it on there.
I like having it on, and if for no other reason, it gets me in the habit of knowing exactly where the resolve bar is, so I'm actually looking for it. I think if I was not in the habit of knowing where the resolve bar was, it could pop up and I wouldn't even really notice, because it's just this little white bar that kind of
Yeah.
curls over the portrait. It's not very important looking, and yet it's incredibly important in PvP.
What Chill said. He explained it way better than me. Okay, so yeah, I mean, but you just have to be cognizant of resolve, and I'll get to that a little bit later, regardless if you have the bar on or not. And you can look in the bottom right of your guy, your portrait also has a resolve bar on it too.
Okay.
Class symbols on. Why? Because there's so many freaking outfits in this game that people,
Yeah, I mean you can be any class and look like a
Yeah.
gunslinger.
Yep.
For
I have
instance.
my Vanguard and a Revan's mask and a robe. I
Mhm.
mean, just because I like that sort of the Jedi look. So I mean, you
Right.
never know, and it's just easy for me to see that symbol and go, oh, this guy's playing this or whatnot.
I agree. It takes a little getting used to because it's
Yeah.
very colorful and like when you're on the fleet, it's like there's
Oh,
all
there's
these
a million.
symbols
Yeah.
everywhere. But it's worth it in the war
Yep.
zone. I
I
mean,
like it.
yeah.
Guild names turned off. I just people evaluate each other based on their guild name. Oh, this player sucks, or this player is great because he's in or she's in such and such guild, and so I just turn it off. It's nonsense. I don't really care about that. I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna. The less I judge a player prior to playing, the better I think the outcome will be, and I'll get a little bit more
Right.
about that on the attitude portion.
The only thing I'll say about that is if you have the guild name on, makes their bar a little bit bigger. Once in a while, they'll be kind of around a corner or something, and you can see,
Oh, I
their
didn't know that.
Yeah,
their
that's what I
bar
was
where you
thinking
can't
too.
necessarily if it's not there. If they have a long guild title, longer than their regular name.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, I didn't know that, but good point.
Not always the case, but once in a great while, and
Especially if
PvP.
there's someone like me who makes all of his characters with like three-letter names for the very reason of minimizing it, you know?
Right, you're looking to
Smallest
minimize.
size and yeah, trying to get
Yeah.
every
In fact,
little advantage you can.
a smart
Don't
PvP guild
pay
would have a
attention
very
to the little
short.
guy in the corner.
A smart PvP guild should have a very short name.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't know that. Another thing, keybinds. And I could do a whole thing about keybinds. I'm not going to. Just make sure that you have that focus target set. And I have a video on this, and we're going to talk about a little more, so I'll explain more in detail there.
Okay.
Prepare. So you got the UI set, you got your preferences set. Now,
Right. Can I ask about one of those preferences again?
Yep.
The 0.5 seconds queue up time.
yeah.
So you said you were going to talk about that, but I'd like to talk about that now. So
Oh, sure.
What exactly is the difference, and why do you find that 0.5 works for you?
Well, there's a latency or like a millisecond thing between when you click a button and it goes to the server and it knows, right?
Right.
So what happens is, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but when I played with 1 second on the max, it's not really 1 second. So the cooldown's 1.5 seconds by default, essentially. So hypothetically,
Global, right.
when it's going down, you should be able to hit it at a certain point, and then nothing happens. The ability activates. It does not work like that. Often what happened was a ghost cooldown, meaning I would click it at that certain point, and then it would go, and then it would refresh the cooldown without activating an ability. The lower I kept it, the more likely it is to actually go off.
Okay.
And so I can just spam it and go R, then F, and then, I don't know, I just seem to have better luck doing that.
Okay.
It's just, it may be something in my latency, or I don't know, but
Okay. What
We
if you go
talked
the
about
other
this
direction?
last week about the ghost cooldown, didn't we, Tio?
Right.
Finally fix that.
The ghost cooldown,
allegedly.
they're fixing one
Yeah.
Allegedly,
version.
right.
They said they could fix one version of it, but there's another one based on lag that is basically not fixable at this point.
If there's a performance issue. But you said allegedly, have you seen any evidence of it since the fix went in?
It has been a lot better. It has been. I haven't turned my queue up to 1 second and tried it again to see if the performance was increased, but I noticed even at 0.5 I wasn't getting ghost cooldowns hardly at all. So it may be something that they fixed and I can go back to 1 second, because it was really handy to queue those abilities, look around, see where I'm going, what I need to click next.
Is there any benefit to going the other way and putting it at like 0.2, 0.1?
If you do put it, I think 0.25 is the lowest. The benefit there is you can just spam it really, really fast, and then it's not going to, I don't know, set the ability
Until basically right before it can
right
happen anyway.
before. Yeah, so people that, I mean, clickers that, you're hearing their keyboard just smash, that's what
Right.
they have it at.
I think I'm pretty happy I think I have it at 0.5 as well. And I'm pretty happy with that. Once in a while, I will hit an ability and then realize, oh, I'd rather have another ability, but it's already been queued, and so it goes off anyway.
Yeah.
Usually not the end of the world, but yeah, I would rather have a little bit of wiggle room there where I can hit an ability and then actually have it go
Yeah.
off half a second later.
Yeah, it's helpful because, I mean, even knowing that when your global cooldown's going, oh, I got to hit something fast, and then you just get that extra time to think about what you need to do next, and it's not that much time, but every little bit helps. So, if
Right.
someone else has a better idea or suggestion, I'm open to trying it and listening. And so, just give me a comment or whatnot, and I'll try it.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Okay, prepare. So I got a picture here of my UI, what I use. I got a whole set of gear. I got stems of every kind. I got a bunch of different shields, generators, weapons, grenades, PvE, med packs, adrenals, and I'm going to go over every single one of them.
Okay.
Stems. You got to use a stem. Use a stem. Use a stem. Use a stem.
Right, and it has to be one that persists through death.
Yes, it's a blue one, level 54. They cost nothing nearly to get them. They add almost 250 stats at endgame. That's a huge difference. That's 1,000 damage on a critical hit. I mean, that's huge.
Right, exactly. That's like almost getting another piece of gear. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
another
like
half a piece of gear or something like
another
that.
earpiece or something offensively. I mean, and so many people go into the matches without them. So instead of freaking out and chastising people, what did I do? I just started making every single kind. And so when I went into Warzone, I click on their portrait. Do they have a stent on? Nope. I trade them. I just automatically give them one. Don't ask for any money. Equip this thing.
Right.
And like, oh, thanks. I didn't realize I didn't have one. Yeah, you're 26k health. You have no stem, and you're queuing for ranked Warzone. How do you think this is going to turn out? And it's one of them things. So instead of getting mad about it, you just got to help people.
Right. Would you always recommend for PvP the one that gives regular stats, or would you ever recommend the Fortitude Defense one?
Oh yeah, the Fortitude Defense one is good for tanks and whatnot, and especially tanks that have a bonus to your defense base stat. But I mean, it's a default one if you don't have anything else, just to get more endurance. But I mean, generally you're just using it for tanks.
Okay.
And if I swap to my full tank gear, I'll go through a Fortitude stem. Then I'll reapply the Might one right afterwards. I mean, if you're willing to be a top-end PvPer, you don't care about money. You don't care about credits in the game. Your goal is to win. If I have to give 10 stems out one match to win a match, I'm going to do it. If I have to use 15 adrenals and 15 med packs and a couple matches and all my nades, I'm going to do it. That's how dedicated I am to winning. Does it always work? No, it doesn't. But every little thing you have to add up is going to improve your chances. And over time, if you're a good PvPer, you will win more than you lose. So that's the way you just have to look at it. And flipping out about people getting stems on or don't have them, they're going to be on the other guy's team the next match. So don't get too worried about it. He'll be your guy, and then next match you'll get to crush him. And believe me, that's happened a lot.
Yep.
Grenades, Cybertech grenades, huge. It's basically another stun. I mean, you got to have these things too. They're not cheap. That's why I have Cybertech as my skill on almost every single one of my guys.
Right. Well, I'm sure you were happy to hear about Bill's tip
Droid
about
parts.
Cybertech.
Since I did that, that's great. And it's a mez too. If people don't know what stuns are, there's different languages for stuns. There's what's called a hard stun, meaning when you stun someone, they can't do anything essentially.
No matter what you do to them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you can start beating on them during a hard stun. So a hard stun is stun them, and then you can hit them. A mez is you get stunned, no one can hit you, or a dot can't apply, or anything. It'll break it.
Right.
It'll fill your resolve up. So really good teams, and comms will say hard stunning Saber or this healer or whatever. So then everyone knows I can beat on the healer while they're stunned. Versus mezzing so-and-so target, and then everyone just leaves them alone.
Mezzes are always tricky, especially in pugs because they get broken so easily. And would you recommend the Cybertech grenade that does the mez, or would you rather do like the knockdown one that actually acts more like a stun?
Mez, more time. But you have to know how to use it. If you're pugging and doing a solo rank, you're not throwing it in the group. And if you do throw it in the group, it should be an emergency situation where you need to interrupt a heal and you don't have your interrupter, you can't get to the guy, or you're peeling for your healer, because it will fill a lot of resolve up. But it's that extra second stun that if you get that off, and like what I'll do is a Sork's out in the middle of nowhere, just kind of hanging out. What I'll do? Throw a grenade on him. Guess what? He'll get frustrated because he'll break it right away. I'll leap on him, use intimidating roar. Now he's stunned for 8 seconds. See ya, have fun sitting there because no one's gonna hit you, So that's what I do with it.
That's right. That's great.
It just comes with experience.
Would you ever use the slow grenade or any of the other grenades?
You could. For me, slows aren't a problem, especially if I'm playing a Jug or a Vanguard, so I don't really see that as a problem. But yeah, it could be useful. Everything's useful if you know what your team is and you go unprepared. But a lot of times it's just the default go-to thing that I know is going to work, and it's just an extra stun on your guy. And if you're playing especially a Marauder, you got to have it because Marauders don't have that many stuns. That's the one thing they don't have a whole lot of.
Exactly. A CC of really any kind.
Right. CC immunity or CC giving out CCs.
And the other nice thing about those grenades is that they're AoE. So if you're using the hard stun version, you can put that on a group and it will affect everyone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that knockdown one takes 2 seconds, isn't it? That you're
maybe a little bit longer at the highest level one, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Jacob, consider yourself. You got 10 minutes. Can you wrap up within 10?
Yep, I can. Okay. Real quick, then I'm just going to go a little hyperspeed here. Warzone Medpacks Adrenals, it just makes sense. Warzone Medpack, there's a trick you can do with them. They give you 35% of your health, okay? So as a Juggernaut, what do? I use Endure Pain, which increases my health pool by 30%. I pop a med pack, and then I do an Intercede, which also heals me for 8%.
Yes.
So I'd almost healed a full doing that once, and I think I've been reported for hacking a few times for doing that. Didn't know what's going on. Adrenals, huge. Oh, go ahead, Chill.
Yeah. So I was going to say about. I was actually going to inquire about adrenals. So basically, I'm not as good a user of them as I should be. But basically what I do when I do use them, it's when I've used other cooldowns but I'm still being beaten on. I can't get away from the fight, or I know the fight is going to continue, or whatever, or I have to stay to the fight in the fight, to guard the door or whatever.
Right.
So that's when I will pop an adrenal. Is that basically how you use it, or are you more aggressive
that
with
was
it, like
my
you use it
question.
during
No.
like at the
Do
beginning
you
of
use
a
it
fight?
offensively or defensively?
Offensively, and I have a video. I haven't loaded it yet, but I have a video where I show how to initiate combat, and I use an adrenal. Basically, I play classes that have a bonus to attacking first. So my whole goal is to attack them, throw them off their game, and an adrenal.
Right.
Use my adrenal, use another cooldown, and get them attacking me because they're wasting DPS.
Yeah.
If they're
And hopefully
attacking,
hopefully they're wasting their bigger DPS cooldowns as well.
so I use it in conjunction with other cooldowns right off the bat, because if you're dead, what good is your adrenal then?
Right. You don't want to use it too late. Exactly.
Boom, you got to use it, because if it's
Yeah.
off cooldown, you get to use it a second time.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, you obviously you'll have a buff on your bar when you have the adrenal. Is there any other visual indication that you have an adrenal running?
That I don't know if your player actually looks different or not. I don't know that.
Okay.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you.
If there is, I'll bet it's subtle because I can't remember seeing anything that would indicate it.
Yeah, I
Me
don't.
neither.
I mean,
So
there's some
I bet
obvious
you there's-
ones, but
Yeah, right. When there's a giant circling sphere around the character, it's pretty clear they've got a buff going of some sort.
and like I said, I got a really good video about how to really kind of initiate combat. I got to load it after this. It's like, anyways. So yeah.
If you notice that the other guy has an adrenal running and so on, would you basically just try to mez him, try to get that adrenal to run out, and then that?
I talk about time on target too in this guide, and I can't cover everything tonight, but the really good players and the really good team switch who they're targeting all the time, because what happens is you go into something, good players pop their cooldowns right away. So I'm not going to attack someone who's taking 60% less damage unless that's the only one I can attack. So you're looking at their buff bar, and you're seeing when are they popping their defenses or their actual character screen. Once they pop those defenses, an adrenal and a shield or something, I'm off that target. There's no point in going through 60% damage.
Right.
Even if it's a tank or something. I mean, people are saying, don't attack the tank, don't attack the tank. Well, you can attack the tank when all their abilities are down. And really good players are just like really good poker players or card players. They remember, okay, that guy what I remember is the operative once they do their invisibility. I know that timer in my head starts counting down. When is that ability? We got 1 minute to kill this guy. We got 2 minutes to kill this guy. So good players really have a timer. They play every class. Every good player has every single class, plays it because they know what the buffs look like, what the debuffs look like, how the specs work, but they stick to one character. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Another thing, I've won countless games doing this, is having an alternate gear set. 90% of the matches are 4 DPS versus 4 DPS. So what do? I have a 40k health gear set that's just basically all mitigation and health. And I go in there, and if we have an off healer and they just have 4 DPS, I swap all my gear.
Okay.
Vanguard
character?
Yep, it could be a Vanguard or a Juggernaut. Because obviously you can fulfill 2 roles. You can't do it with a Sage. I mean, there's no point in putting 40k health gear on with a Sage or a Sniper, per se. But classes that are tanks and DPS, you just switch stances. Your DPS is gonna suck. Yes, it's going to. But the whole match is about staying alive, not killing. So all I do is I swap. I just try to survive.
And you try to draw as much attention as you can.
I just run in there like an idiot, and they're like, oh, what's this idiot doing? Pop my adrenal, all my cooldowns, and they're just sitting there hitting me, throwing pebbles at me while my other team destroys me.
Right.
It's over.
They're using their cooldowns against you. They're being their head against your wall, basically.
Yep.
And your team takes care of the rest.
Cooldowns are everything. Use them early and often. And one little thing about that is, a friend of mine, I thought I was this hotshot Vanguard, and I was destroying everyone. And so he's like, let's duel. All right, we'll duel. I'm going to crush you, but that's fine. He absolutely destroyed me. I'm like, what the hell am I doing wrong? He's like, pop trinkets early and often. I go, what the hell's a trinket? Well, anyway, it's a WoW term or whatnot. And so from that day forward, I was like, yeah, I need to start using stuff way earlier, because I was used to the old 8-mans where I'm saving, things for the last 2 minutes of a burst phase to get a door open and a void star. That's not the case in arenas. You need to go in there and use them. Another thing about using cooldowns, I talked about defensive cooldowns. I'm going to talk about offensive cooldowns. So let me scroll down here. An example of how I start a match off, let's say I'm using a Vanguard. I'll go in there, I'll harpoon someone or pull them to me, and I'll stun them. Then automatically their team starts panicking, okay? That guy who I stunned panics. He breaks the stun, I stun him again. Now he's pissed off. So their whole team's just kind of panicking, flipping out. Well, what do? They tunnel me because I'm the guy who started the combat. Pop my reflective shield, 50% damage reduction. Adrenal, 15% damage reduction. If they taunt the group, there's 30%. So I'm sitting at 60% damage reduction. Now they stun me because I guarantee they will stun me right away. 90% damage reduction. They're hitting me for nothing, right? And they're just so tunneling me that they wasted all their big offensive cooldowns. Right. Now the trick about offensive playing is waiting until you have full resolve. Don't use your big offensive abilities until you have full resolve. So I let them stun me. I encourage them to get stunned. Boom, I have full resolve. Now I pop my crit buff. I use my AoE ability, my death from above. I use my flamethrower, and I just did a ridiculous.
This is your window where you are an unseeable juggernaut. Well, not juggernaut, actual juggernaut, not.
You're a machine.
Juggernaut. Yeah, you're a machine, right? You're a killing machine because you can't be stopped.
Yeah.
Well, you can be slowed because there's no resolve.
The unstoppable wrecking ball.
So that's how I play it, and I'm going to talk about time on target real quick if I can briefly. Sure. Time on target. I made a couple videos too about this. It's just basically always do something. Always be using a global cooldown. Now the only time that's not you don't want to do that is obviously if a target's mez and you don't want to stun them. But the really good players, like there's a guy, the #1 Juggernaut Triand, who was #1 for quite a while. And he just always out DPS me. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Of course, he doesn't want to tell me because I know me being better than him. So I just watched him religiously what he was doing. The only thing he was doing differently, it wasn't my rotation, it wasn't my blah, blah, blah. He was religiously time on target. Religiously. He was always hitting something. Whether it was an auto attack, whether it was a saber throw while he got closer, whether it was using intercede to get close, he wasn't wasting any time moving. It was always attack, attack, attack. Every global cooldown possible, he was using something. Now, it's not going to. You're in PvP. You're getting knocked back. You're getting stunned. You're getting choked. You're doing. So there's a million different ways to get off time on target. It sounds really simple, but just think to yourself: at this moment, am I doing damage? At this moment, am I healing? At this moment, am I tanking? If you're not, you're wrong. Last thing, real quick, focus target. This is really, really hard to get down. It's a simple concept. People cannot do it. It is the hardest thing as a guild leader to teach someone, and I have no idea why. Setting focus target, all it is you click on someone's character screen, you click a button that you can set up in preferences. This just enables you to basically attack the same target as them. As they change, you change the targets. Sounds simple, right? It's actually not, and I got a video about this too. It's kind of hard because, like I said, good players switch targets often, right? So you have to be constantly switching with them. And especially if you're playing a melee class, you're kind of like looking around going, well, I can't attack this target now. So it takes a really long time to get down with it, but you've got to practice it. Just put random people on focus target and just keep pressing that button over and over and over, seeing who they're on, jumping to them, attacking them. Lastly, everyone needs focus target. As a tank, what I do is I go into the match, I set the enemy, the top DPS enemy, as my focus target. Okay. So I almost know every single person I'm playing against. If they're their best DPS, I set them as focus target. I go to tank stance and I see who they're attacking. Then all I do is just swap my guard, whoever they're attacking. I'm trying to mitigate their damage. So boom, swapping, swapping, and it's really hard to get down, but that's what the really good tanks do.
Yeah, that makes sense though. I mean, that way your guard isn't being sat on a healer who isn't being currently attacked, and et cetera, et cetera. It's always being useful.
And
guard is really huge, and especially when you get. I mean, yeah, the 5% is nice if you're far away, but when you're really close and you're sharing damage,
have to have it.
It's beautiful.
Not only are you sharing damage, you're mitigating damage. especially if you have a shield. So basically you're taking damage away from the enemy. That's
Right.
why you most likely, not every situation, shouldn't be attacking a guarded target. You should not be attacking a guarded target, and
Right.
you have to keep switching. And if a good tank
Yeah,
will keep
because
switching
all that
with you.
shared damage goes onto a tank that's going to mitigate a good
Absorb.
chunk of it.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Wrap it
And
up, please.
Yep.
Okay.
And I must say, even if it like you can't really do this in the game because it's only for tanks, but even if you had like two squishy targets, but one of them could guard the other, and they could share damage, even though there's no mitigation, it would still be a huge advantage.
Yep.
Because it means you're sharing your health pool. And
Exactly
all of a
right.
sudden, it's like you're two characters sharing one giant health pool, and therefore you're
Yep.
more difficult to kill just because of that. And then you add the tank mitigation on top of it, and
It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
One last comment. Attitude is everything in these war zones, okay? So before I go in, when I started and wasn't being successful, I go in and complain about the players I got on my team or whatever. You got to go in there with a good attitude and say, I'm going to carry these people to victory if I have to. You're going to lose.
Mhm.
Get over it. You're not going to be the best player. You're going to lose for your team. But the good players just re-queue again and get better and learn over time. So it will happen. You will get better, but it's going to be frustrating, especially when someone shows up with 20k health, no stem. They don't even have their spec and their stance on, and you don't know what they're doing. But just guard them and go in there and Rambo and try to take them out, and that's all you can do. So, but thanks a lot for having me on, and I appreciate it.
If you could pick just one class to play in PvP, which would you recommend?
To be the best or to have fun?
Both.
The best right now is a Vanguard. The absolute best. Why? I can guard. I can bring in a different set of gear. I can do a ridiculous amount of damage. I have 1,000,000 stuns up, 1,000,000 defensive cooldowns, and I can have stun. If I'm stunned, I take less damage. It's an absolute wrecking ball. It has range. It has a pull. Marauders is second, and then Operatives third. My favorite class by far is a Juggernaut. It's just fun to play, but it's not anywhere near as effective as a Vanguard. A Vanguard is just by far the most dominating force, if played right, I've ever seen. I mean, the Marauder is derp because it's just, running in there like an idiot. But the Vanguard's tricky. You can swap to guard. I won a match because our tank went down. I swapped to guard stance when I was DPSing through guard and the healer, and we got through it. So
Right.
there's a lot more to it than just running in there, throwing some fireballs and hoping for the best.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you, Jacob. That was great. All right, that is a show. So if you'd like to, excuse me. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our
Utini Rage
Guild on the Empire side, do a /c join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then ask for the quiz that lets us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to utinicast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter. We're on @UtiniCast. I Twitter under my own name @Brandon L. Starr, and Tio uses his name @Jason Etheridge. Jacob Twitters under @TheRealHouseman. That's HAUSMAN. Red Twitter's under @R3DN4, or you can watch him on twitch.tv/R3DN4. Check out our website, OotiniCast.com, which has links to our presence on Google Plus and Facebook. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. We're also on Stitcher and Radio 4 Gamers. Our theme song is from Mevio's Music Alley. Check it out at music.mevio.com. That's MEVIO. And thanks to the chat room, and thank you, Jacob and Red.
Thanks.
Always a pleasure.
And we'll see you next week.
Alright guys, stop your recording now.
Done.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you, chat room.
That was
See you
fun.
next week.